I'm going to play this really fast. Hopefully you guys can hear. I want you to listen to how founder and CEO sounded back in, and by the way, since they're a year ahead, this is actually Q1 2024, how he sounded back in 2024 versus how he sounds today after Maestro exists.
Now I would like to hand the call over to Daniel.
Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to start today by addressing the announcements we made this afternoon, and then I'll give a quick summary of our first quarter.
I'm a little afraid this is going to crash the stock, but this isn't the real earnings call, guys. This is from a long time ago.
Before I hand it over to Ashim to go through our financials and guidance in more detail. As you may have seen in our press release this afternoon, Rob Enstein is leaving the company and has also resigned as a member of the board. Rob played a significant role over the last 2 years, and I know I'm speaking for the entire company when I say that we are very grateful for his contribution to UiPath. With Rob leaving the company, I'm excited to step back into the CEO role and look forward to leading us through our next phase of profitable growth and innovation. During the past year, I had the privilege of immersing myself in our product and engineering efforts. This experience gave me invaluable clarity.
By the way, guys, Daniel Dines stepped down from CEO to focus on the new Maestro product as the lead technical officer because he's an engineer. And he hired a guy from Google to run the CEO job. And that guy he really messed a lot of stuff up. And that really hurt UiPath for a period of time. Now, remember, we're listening to something way back in 2024, but I want you to hear how honest Daniel Dines is about how things are going. So that at least we probably won't be able to listen to the last earnings call clip as well. But at least then when you're listening to the current earnings call and he's talking super positively in Q3 of today, like when that happens, you can trust him because you know what he sounded like when things weren't going well. He was being honest about it.
On our path forward. At a time when companies are looking to optimize costs and drive efficiencies without sacrificing innovation, especially around generative AI, our platform enables them to harness the power of AI to achieve actionable outcomes. As we look to the future of automation, our focus isn't just on boosting productivity and efficiency, it's also about redefining what's possible with the breadth of our AI-powered platform of capabilities. The impact that the combination of generative AI and automation provides our customers is significant, and it's expanding. From our early customers like CNBC and Orange to customers that have grown and expanding significantly over the last year, like USDA and ACA, they continue to emphasize how the combination of automation and AI delivered through our platform is transforming their business and enabling them to thrive in today's environment. We view generative AI as a secular tailwind that will continue to benefit our business and the catalyst for continuing to innovate across our platform to expand our competitive moat. Turning to our first quarter results, ARR grew 21% year over year to $1.508 billion, driven by first quarter net new ARR of $44 million. Excluding the FX headwind of $3 million, net new ARR totaled $47 million. Revenue grew to $335 million, an increase of 16% year over year. Normalizing for the FX headwind of approximately $8 million, revenue grew 18% year over year. While our top-line results were generally in line with our guidance range, we are not satisfied with our performance, and I'd like to give you more color on a few key factors that impact.
Okay, so I just want to point out here, this is, back in 2024, this is literally a quarter with faster growth than the last quarter that we're seeing. And listen to how honest he is, right? So we were growing over 20% ARR, right? Like he could be so positive and be like, we're going to keep on doing well. That's not what he said. He was very honest about what was going to happen, and he guided correctly.
Impacted first quarter results. First, while we had a healthy start to the quarter, we saw the pace slow as we progressed through the second half of March and into April. This was primarily due to the impact of a challenging macroeconomic environment that we see persisting with mid-market customers, as well as a change in customer behavior, particularly with large multi-year deals. As a result, several large expansion opportunities closed with a reduced size or pushed out of the quarter. Second, we saw inconsistent execution, which included contract execution challenges on large deals and certain sales compensation changes, which we are working to rectify.
Yeah, by the way, the other CEO greatly reduced the commission that the sales team was getting. So that was one of the first things that Daniel Dines fixed. Incentives need to be set up right.
While customer behavior is often a function of the broader macroeconomic environment, execution is something we can control. and we recognize that we need to improve predictability on large multi-year deals. Third, our growth products such as IDP and test automation are producing positive results. However, there is a need to have a deeper execution strategy to scale these products to reach their full potential. And lastly, the investments we have made to reaccelerate growth have fallen short of our expectations, made us less agile in responding to customer needs, and created short-term pressure on operating margins, all of which we are committed to rectifying. Now, let me address our outlook going forward. Our revised second quarter and fiscal 2025 guidance are not where we expect them to be. That being said, we don't expect the macro environment to improve materially in the near term, and we believe it is prudent to guide assuming variability we saw at the end of the first quarter will continue. It also takes into account the leadership transition, which can create some short-term disruption. As we look to the future, we are laser-focused on enhancing our execution, including improved sales linearity.
Okay, I think that's enough of that earnings call. So that was back in 2024 when Daniel Dines was taking back over as CEO. He was very honest that stuff was going to get worse. They guided for things to get worse. He said we should be prudent about this. So keep that in mind now. As we're about to listen, we're going to have to skip over 2026. It's okay. But as we're about to listen to Daniel Dines in an hour in the Q3 2026 earnings call, listen to how different his tone is and know that because he's a straight shooter who's honest when things are going poorly, that you can trust him, even though he might not, he's a Romanian guy. So he's not always he doesn't get as excited as me. He's not as excitable as me. But listen to the words he's saying because you can trust the words that he's saying because he's a straight shooter. So after the last earnings call, listen to what he said on CNBC.
We see a very solid demand. I can think that, since the early days of RPA, I have not seen such a huge interest from customers.
Wow. Since the early days of RPA, he said, I have not seen such interest from customers. This is what he said on CNBC after the Q2 earnings call. That sounds like a completely different take, than we're closing deals at a smaller size than previously, and some deals are getting pushed out of the quarter. Like that's what they were saying before the company's growth started decelerating. Now he's saying we're seeing more demand than we have ever seen. If we had listened to the last earnings call, by the way, in the Q2 one, they were saying they're seeing bigger deal sizes driven by Maestro and AI automation. So the complete opposite thing is happening because their new product is so good. But then even more recently, Daniel, so remember in this call, he said more demand than they have seen since RPA first came on the scene, which by the way, back then they were growing like 80% year over year, almost 100% year over year. I think they actually had 1 year before they went public where they grew 200% in a single year when RPA first came on the scene. And he's saying, we're seeing more demand than we've seen since then. And then more recently, UiPath's official Twitter posted this. And once again, listen to the words he's saying. Know that he's someone you can trust. He was honest when things were going to get worse. So even though he sounds a little deadpan, listen to the actual words he's saying here.
The interest for AI and automation is at its highest level ever. And our customers are really happy with what we are showing them, how we think about orchestrating processes, our Maestro offering, our agentic builder.
Okay, so he went from on CNBC right after earnings saying, we're seeing more demand than we've seen since RPA first came on the scene, to a little bit later, like a month later, or when was this posted here? November 13th. So last month, about 3 weeks ago, saying we are seeing more customer demand than we have ever had. It's at its highest level ever. So the demand increased even from the CNBC interview where he said highest since RPA to a few months later, the demand increased even more.